Hello, everybody. I'm going to give you a quick update about the ITP Support Association and where we come from and where we're going to for the rest of this year. I actually did this presentation at the recent ITP Update Day in London. That's my name. The ITP Support Association was formed back in 1995 by a lady called Mrs. Shirley Watson. Shirley had a son called Neville who had this condition, and as at the time there was no support organisations around for ITP, Shirley took it upon herself to actually start one up, and it's been very, very successful. In addition, from the outset, she provided support to get the UK ITP registries up and running, and I would talk more about that shortly. And she also endeavoured after a couple of years to start annual patient meetings, and I would talk about how they've evolved a bit later. In addition, she provided a contact point for patients at the end of a telephone, and also, again, after a couple of years, started sending out a quarterly journal, which in the early days was a pamphlet type thing. The ethos of the ITP Support Association is, has a number of strands. Basically, the main ones are to provide support groups for ITP patients, and again, these were in-person groups before COVID and have now evolved to virtual groups, but again I will talk more about that later. To provide telephone support, we now have the phone line available for most of the day. We also have a group of excellent patient mentors. These are patients who have ITP themselves, have a good history and understanding of the condition, and are available to actually mentor any new patients or anyone with ITP who has concerns. Plus, we have a ever-growing network of medical advisors. These are medical advisors not only from the UK and Ireland but also the USA, and the quarterly journal, the platelet, has now evolved into a full colour affair of about 30 odd pages, with lots of information in there, including the letter from America, and when we have them, any patient questions that we can get answered. We also have a selection of patient booklets available. We continue with the patient conventions. These evolved. The last two in-person patient conventions was one at the Royal Society for Medicine at Wimpole Street in about 5 years ago, and then just pre-COVID we had one at Chester and then one in Dublin, and then since COVID, unfortunately, we've had to go to the virtual format, and including this coming weekend, this will be their third virtual convention, but they are well received, well supported events. In addition, we have to rely on lots of fundraising from our members. This helps us provide support for the ITP registries that I talked about at the start, and we'll talk about a bit later. Right, now is the time to talk about the ITP registries. What is the ITP Support Association doing now? Well, we currently support the adult ITP registry, the paediatric ITP registry, and the pregnancy ITP registry to the tune of just over £40,000 a year. I mentioned how the platelet journal has grown. It's now full colour, been revamped, new design over the last year or so, 30 pages plus sometimes. In addition, I've also mentioned our annual convention, normally in person, but that it says last two there, but with this weekend it will be the last three have been in the virtual format. But for this weekend alone, we've got over 600 people registered Not everyone actually logs in on the day, because we make the platform available, for a number of months after the convention, so people can catch up with all the talks that took place. In addition, we have regional and local ITP support groups. These were in person pre-COVID, and it was excellent. We had a sort of group of between 13 and 14 local support groups up and down the country, right up from the northwest to the northeast down to Devon, Cornwall. But now these are currently being held virtually, and in order to make them worthwhile and to capture as many people as possible, we've now put them into regional format. England and Wales is one, Scotland is another, and all of Ireland is the third. And these are supported by medical advisors who are on hand when it's going out virtually to answer questions. In addition, we now cover not only the UK, but also all of Ireland, which is excellent. And that culminated in just prior to COVID, a patient convention day in Dublin, which was again very, very well attended. The charity currently has almost 1,000 paying members. We have a website at itpsupport.org.uk. It was a new website 5 years ago. It's currently being redone, and we're hoping to have our new site up and running by the late summer. We've got a huge following on social media. You can see the numbers there. Facebook over 7,000, Twitter almost 2,000, Instagram 1,500, LinkedIn. We're also on the Health Unlocked forum, which has over 4,000 members, and a YouTube channel which has well over 60 videos available, and that will be growing in the next couple of months. In addition, we've also recently published, actually during last September's ITP Awareness Week, we published Making the Right Choices in ITP Management and Care. It's a shared decision-making toolkit for patients. We did this in partnership with the ITP Forum. This was a result of a project we held earlier last year called the ITP Roundtable Project, which looked at all the results from last ITP patient perception survey. And one of the main issues that came out from the Roundtable Project was the need to have a clear, concise document that patients could understand. It could map the process of ITP from initial diagnosis all the way through to treatment. And we produced it. It was endorsed by 3 Royal Colleges, the Royal College of Pathologists, the Royal College of GPs, and the Royal College of Physicians. In addition, it was also endorsed by the British Society for Haematology and the Genetic Alliance UK. It's been very successful. When I wrote this slide, it was 1,200 hard copies have been sent out. In the last week, we've sent out another 200. So it's now 1,400 hard copies and well over 6,000 digital downloads now. And that is being bolstered now because we've also got it available not only in English, but we have digital versions available in French, German, Italian, Spanish, and Portuguese. And again, they've all been very, very well received. I mentioned our latest annual convention being held virtually. If you're watching this, then this may be at the convention, or you may be watching it later. I've already mentioned our regional patient support groups. The next ones we've got on track are the England and Wales virtual patient meeting on the 9th of June. This will be followed the following week by the Scotland virtual patient meeting, and then in early July, the All Ireland virtual patient meeting. And our plans for the rest of this year, we are looking at later in the year doing a new ITP patient perception survey. We're also going to start work on another project with medical advisors from the US and the UK, drawing up a paediatric ITP toolkit to accompany the toolkit I talked about earlier. In addition, we've got a huge amount going on during ITP Awareness Week, which will be week commencing the 26th of September. We will have a paediatric ITP virtual meeting, and this is being chaired by Dr. Nicola Cooper. We are also working on planning on having another international ITP patient meeting. We had one last year during Awareness Week with our colleagues at the Platelet Disorder Support Association, the PDSA, in the USA, and ITP Australia. And I must just give a quick plug to all of the other patient organisations around the world. There is a fantastic website called globalitp.org, where you can see the details of every other ITP patient organisation within what is now called the International ITP Alliance. There's probably 34 patient organisations within the Alliance now. And of that, the PDSA in the States and the ITP Support Association in the UK were founder members of the International ITP Alliance. In addition, during Awareness Week, we're looking at publishing a special edition of the Platelet Journal, which is just patient stories. And that's going to be very, very special. It always, every time you read a patient story about their ITP journey, it sort of tugs at the heartstrings, you know, some of the issues that patients have had to go through. So that's the plans for this coming year. Next year, hopefully, will be even better with a in-person annual convention, which will be in London in May. Keep a lookout for details. Thank you very much for your time.